for the answers so you can correct your own. All right, I've already done this once and it didn't tape, so this is my second try. Nobody's perfect, right? So here we go. If you look at my whiteboard, number 1 says to be able to shade 3/5. So the first thing you have to do is you have to make 5 equal squares. So I'm going to do my best to make 5 equal squares. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice I only had to draw 4 lines. That happens when you do number lines too. I have to shade 3. 1, 2, 3. I've shaded 3 out of 5. Number 2, it says to shade 4/9. This one's pretty easy because there are 9 circles there. All I have to do is shade 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Number 3 is shade 5/6. Well, if you count up the number that are there are 12 there. So you need to know 5/6 of 12. There are 2 ways you could do this problem. You could do the wagon wheel trick that Mrs. Johnson taught you, and I will show you 2 different ways to do this problem. So we could do 5/6 of 12. That looks like this. 6 times what is 12? And the answer is 2. Circle the wagon. 2 times 5 equals 10. So you would shade 10 because 5/6 of 12 is 10. Another way you could do this problem is you could just shade 5 of every 6. The way that would look would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 total. I have another 6, so I would have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 total. So 2 different ways to do that problem. Number 4 tells you that you need to make equivalent fractions to a half. Now, the way you could do it, halves are easy because all you have to do is think of half of a number. Half of 8, 4. So 4/8. I could draw a picture, half of a circle, okay? Or if the fraction was different and not a half, what could you do? Well, that's when you could use your rainbow trick. The rainbow trick would look like this. You would start with 1/2, and you would just choose a number to multiply by. So if I wanted to multiply by 2, the first thing I would do is say multiply by 2. I'm going to do that to the top and the bottom, and that's going to give me a new fraction. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Now I'm going to go back to 1/2 and choose a different number to multiply by. So maybe this time I want to multiply by 10. So if I do times 10 here, I'm going to do times 10 here. 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. And I could just be choosing more and more numbers to multiply by, and that's going to keep giving me all equivalent fractions. Equivalent means equal. So I can make millions. I only need 4 here, or I'm sorry, 5. Okay, the next questions that you're going to get to is on a number line. When you are doing number lines, you want to make sure you count the spaces between 0 and 1. Okay, so the spaces between 0 and 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can already see they almost give me the answer because this one's 2/5. So this would be 1 out of the 5 lines, 2 out of the 5, 3 out of the 5, 4 out of the 5, 5 out of the 5 would give me 1. I'm going down to number 6, 0, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. You can see this would be 5/5. And we start over again. 1 and 1/5. 1 and 2/5. 1 and 3/5. 1 and 4/5. 1 and 5/5 equals 2. If I were to keep going, this would be 2 and 1/5. Okay, and you can keep going. The number line keeps going. Number 7 says greater than a half. Now, some of you, when we use half, the fraction half is easy because you know half of numbers. If you don't know half of numbers, what you're going to do is the butterfly trick. So 5/7 versus 1/2. Down here, I could do 5/7 versus 1/2 and do the butterfly trick. 2 times 5 is 10. 7 times 1 is 7. 10 and 7, that means this fraction is bigger. Yes, this one is greater than a half. Now I need to do 5/9. 5/9 versus 1/2. 2 times 5 equals 10. 1 times 9 equals 9. 10 is bigger than 9. That means this one is bigger. Now it's 5/6 versus a half. Well, this one I could do in my head because I know that half of 6 is 3. And this number on the top is bigger than 3. So I already know this one is more than a half. So sometimes the butterfly trick helps and sometimes I can do it in my head. I think of this one in my head. Half of 4 is 2. Well, this is less than 2, so this is going to be less than a half. This one right here, half of 8 is 4. Oh my goodness, that means this is equal to a half. It wanted me to only circle the fractions greater than a half. This one is equal. 2/5, if I don't know half of 5 because it's an odd number, then I do the butterfly trick. 2/5 versus 1/2. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 is smaller than 5. This fraction is smaller than a half. So I've circled 3 numbers. All right, I'm going to erase my board so we can go to number 8. Number 8, you are telling the value of your number. So your number is 3,761. The value of your 3 is thousands. 3,000. 3 is in the thousands place. You can always count. 1, 2, 3 digits behind it, you add 3 zeros. 7's in the hundreds place, 700. 6 in the tens, 1 in the ones. If we do the same thing, we have the number 40,135. It wants us to know the value of 0. Well, 0, no matter what place value it's in, means there's 0 there. The 1 is in the hundreds place, so 100. The 3 is in the tens place, 30. And the last one, the 4, they don't even ask you about the 5. The 4 is in the 10,000s place. So I put the 4. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 digits behind it, or I can just say it's 40,000. Okay. Now, if you go on to number 10. Number 10 tells you wanted an equal chance. Well, equal means the same, that they are equal or the same. So if I want an equal chance of taking out a sphere or a cube, I would put in 6 spheres because 6 equals 6. That is equal. Number 11, Fran buys a pack of gum with 28 pieces. If Fran chews 4 pieces of gum each day, how long will it take her to finish the pack? Well, every day she eats 4. So this is day 1, she eats 4. The next day she eats 4 again, so now she's up to 8 pieces. She eats 4 more, we're at 12. She can keep eating because she has 28 pieces of gum. So she eats more, that's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24. I'm just adding by 4s. 28. And now I get to it. So I add, how many days was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 days. Mathematically, you could have done 28 divided by 4. That's what's going to give you the answer, 7 days. Now, the next question says, what fraction of the pack does she eat each day? Well, each day she eats 4 pieces. Out of how many pieces does she have total? 28. She eats 4 out of the 28 pieces every single day. All right, now we're at number 12. Number 12, we are thinking about a clock. And here is my clock, okay? And it says 45 minutes equals how much of an hour? Well, you know that 60 minutes is an hour. This is less than 60 minutes. So that means it has to be a fraction. If I think of my clock into 4 equal parts, and I know where 45 minutes are, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. This is where the 45 is in minutes. If I look at my clock, I know that that is 1, 2, 3/4 of an hour. Okay, not a whole number. The next one says, how many minutes is 3 hours? I know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. So another hour plus another hour. Now I have 3 hours. 60 plus 60 is 120. Another 60 gets me to 180 minutes. All right, number 13, we are comparing fractions again. Whenever we compare fractions, if we don't know the answer, we do the butterfly trick. So we have 3/4 and 4/5. Notice how I have to rewrite it because the way they wrote it, it's hard for me to do the butterfly trick when they're slanted like this. See that? So I have to rewrite it. That's okay, I have to rewrite a lot of things. 4 times 3 is 15. 4 times 4 is 16. 4/5 is greater. 2/8 is versing 1/4. Who will be greater? 8 times 1 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. They are equal. The last one, 5/15 versus 3/8. 15 times 3. Well, I don't know that one. So I'm just going to do 15 3 times. 5, 10, 15, 10, 20, 30. Together, those give me 45. 8 times 5 is 40. 45 is greater than 40. All right, we're moving right along. Hopefully I'm going fast enough for you. All right, the next ones you are shading 11/8. Okay, so you have 2 circles. They are split into 8 equal parts. And you had to color 11 those pieces cut into eighths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, now it asks me to write another name for 11/8. So it wants you to write the mixed fraction. That means how many whole circles? Well, look at, I colored in this whole circle. That gives me 1. That's a whole number. I write it big. Now I have a fraction of the circle. I colored in 1, 2, 3 out of 8 total. So 1 3/8 is the mixed number for 11/8. Okay, the next one is circles. You have 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are cut into fourths. It tells you that they want you to color 4 3/4. So you're going to color in 4 total circles and then 3/4. 1 circle, 2, 3, 4 whole circles. Done with the 4. Going to 3/4. 1, 2, 3 out of the 4. Now they want me to write another name for this. Well, they want up here the improper fraction. The improper fraction means the bigger numbers on top. So all I need to do is count the fourths. Notice The denominators are the same. The denominators here will be the same. How many fourths did I color in? 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19. I colored in 19 fourths. Okay. All right, I think we're on our last one. So this one was on the worksheet and it was also on the target check. So this one is a little bit easier than the one that was on the target check. All right, the first thing you have is boxes that are uneven. This is your whole shape, one whole shape. What you have to do is write the fraction for each one. Well, a lot of kids want to write that there's 3 pieces, but there are not 3 equal pieces, so in fractions, they have to be equal. So the first thing I can do is I can think of just this square right here. If I were to pick this up, how many of these squares would fit total here? One would fit here, one could fit here. That would be 2 equal pieces. That's with me visualizing this number gone. That means this piece right here is 1 out of the 2 pieces. Okay? Now we go to this side and we have to think, okay, if I were to just take this piece right here, pick it up, how many of these would fit in my whole shape? Well, if I pictured this shape, I could fit 4 of those here. So each one of these would be a fourth. Now look at 1/4, 2/4. Together, these take 2/4, and you know that 2/4 is the same as half. So when we do pictures like this, our shapes need to be equal shapes for us to write the fractions. I hope that this has been helpful for you and that you can use these strategies tomorrow when you take the test. Thank you, third graders, for following along. I hope you are on target for fractions. Fractions can be a little tricky and you just have to stick with it and keep practicing. Have a great